you can't, of course, put your whole self, your education, the rest of it aside. But the idea is just to see what is this without any kind of filter from what you know, what you've read before, the rest of it, because that can get in the way. So you try your very best. I do, and I think this is what other people do as well, just to be nobody. You're just kind of a responder to what you see there. And the first time through, you just... Now, of course, we're talking about manuscripts we have probably seen before. So it's not like it's the very first time, because we've accepted it. But this is the first time that you're kind of zoned in and just trying to react the first time through. Probably not going to make any marks even on the page the first time through. And I think it's maybe gotten easier over the years to put myself aside. Everything that I bring to a manuscript, it will jump into it later. But first time, I just feel like I'm not. I feel, in fact, like I'm reading like I was reading when I was a kid. Way back, just to find out what's going on there. And then there's the question of honing in and starting to read every word and read very carefully and try to make sure that there's nothing that... And I like to do this in a couple of stages. I like to get the details out of the way first. I don't know that people... I'm sure we have our own separate ways of doing things. So if there's anything with the punctuation or those tiny little details, sometimes you take out the conjunctions because you didn't need any of those, and those little words, and people tend to use more of those than they need. So that kind of pruning, get all that done first, and then start to think about larger matters like probably another draft or two down the road, like structure. Is this poem best here or would it be over here? Sometimes the manuscripts come all in one bunch, and if you look closely, you can see they could be zoned into sections. Or sometimes there are sections that don't need to be there, so the flow would be better if they're just so. Those larger issues like that, for me, tend to come later. I'll kind of have a sense that there's something like that's going to be an issue to think about later. And I like to get all those little details out of the way first. This is somebody else's manuscript you're messing with too. So it's been necessary to find a kind of balance between humility in front of it and confidence that you know what you're doing. My first letter to people always says, this is your manuscript, and something to the effect that I'm going to mess with it, but I'm aware that I'm doing that, and that's potentially a sensitive matter. Because some people get their backs up quite soon, and some, as Kitty knows, keep their backs up through the whole process.